Greetings, Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. This is your Western forecast for August 2025. I usually start with where is the sun shining, where's your attention being drawn to, and of course the first 3 weeks of every August, the sun is shining in Leo, a fire sign, compatible to Sagittarius, a fire sign. But there's a rare planetary alignment that all 4 outer planets are in harmony and all focusing on primarily Uranus. And Uranus has just entered Gemini into your 7th house of partnerships and relationships. Now that's where I want to start. The last time we've had a 4-planet alignment was about 1844. But it was like spread out over 4 months or so. This time it's all happening in August. So there's a major awakening of civilization, the collective consciousness, if you will, political, economical. Now, all 4 of these planets were in other signs, and then they all shifted. The last was in Uranus in July. When all the outer planets have a lot to represent life-changing energies, where the Venus, Mars, Jupiter could indicate kind of a good moods, bad moods, but then everything, when they change signs, it goes back to the normal routine. But when the outer planets are changing signs, there's a lot of instability and transition, and that is one of the explanations of what's been going on the first half of 2025. But now all 4 of those outer planets have shifted signs and are in harmony with each other. Now they're going to retrograde back into the previous sign briefly for a few months and then get back on track as we get into the first part of 2026. But we're getting a lot of clues about this more stabilizing energies propelling us into a new chapter for the world. Now, Pluto, Neptune, Saturn are all in harmony with Uranus. Uranus is the planet of innovation, technology, the future. It's very progressive and innovative, breakthrough, rebellious energies. It has now just moved into Gemini the first time in 84 years. It's basically going to remain in Gemini for the next 7 years. Gemini is the sign opposite Sagittarius. Opposite represents the significant other, your partner, your significant other, your spouse, your business partner. Uranus moving into that 7th, being supported harmoniously by these other life-changing 3 outer planets. There's going to be a lot of healing progress in relationships. Some of you might suddenly get married. Some of you may finally have the wake-up call, the courage to get out of a more limiting or frustrating partnership, whether it's business or love. Now, I'm going to go a little bit more into detail with that later. And I also want to discuss, well, how's that Pluto, Neptune, Saturn? What is it also in the background here? All in harmony with each other. How's that going to be impacting you? But let's go back to the sun in Leo. Leo is 9 signs past Sagittarius. The 9th sign of the zodiac is Sagittarius. So every year when the sun is in Leo, it's highlighting in general your everything that Sagittarius represents. That's the 9th house. So it's putting a real spotlight on ninth house or Sag interests, traveling, education, publishing, marketing, teaching. Mercury, the planet of information, communications, negotiations, what you are thinking about, it's in your ninth house in Leo, and right now it's retrograde. But Mercury, discerning Mercury, went into Leo, into your ninth on June the 26th. Started to slow down and retrograde July the 17th. And going to remain retrograde, revising, rethinking, misunderstandings, losing things. You've heard the mantra. As Mercury goes direct after August the 10th, where now you're having more clarity, more focus, being more discerning about making decisions about ninth house matters, that the sun is still very much keeping your attention drawn to. So whether this is international travel plans or thinking about going back to school or becoming a teacher or publishing or marketing or media or thinking about setting, an online business, because that ninth house is about the publishing and the marketing. But first, if you enjoy these kinds of videos and would like to see more of them, click like and subscribe. And don't forget to click on the notification bell so you can receive the latest postings. Venus is the planet of desire, romance, diplomacy, cooperation. Venus goes through all the signs, usually once a year, unless there's a retrograde period. Venus is in Cancer, July the 30th till August the 25th. Cancer is 8 signs past Sagittarius. So this benefic energy of Venus, what you desire, what you are attracting, is in the 8th house. The 8th house deals with 2 big areas. There's the personal and there's financial. Financial, it can be you negotiating or attracting a major financial contract, a business partnership, especially as Jupiter, the ruling planet for Sagittarius. Jupiter is now in exalted Jupiter, which I discussed since June, because Jupiter is an exalted Jupiter wanting to give its best promises from June of 2025 till June of 2026. So this whole, next 10 months, the expansive Jupiter ruling planet for Sag is also going through your 8th house, but it is August. You got Venus and Jupiter together. And when we're talking finances, Venus and Jupiter, you might come into an inheritance. You might come into a financial settlement. You might be able to get a loan or a mortgage. That's the 8th house. You may have, if you've had any IRS tax issues or insurance issues, which is all under the domain of the 8th house. There would be this resolving and the healing. Now, I said on a more personal level, the 8th house has a lot to do with profound transformation, because it also deals with death and rebirth. But on a more everyday level, this can represent therapy, psychology, because that's all transformational energies, and astrology, because the 8th also deals with the occult. Now, you might be really interested, and with Jupiter, you could be learning astrology, or you might be deciding to get more involved in therapy or studying psychology. Now, Mars is the warrior assertive planet. Mars is in Libra, once every 2 years from August the 6th to September the 21st. Libra, Mars is in Libra, is 11 signs past Sagittarius. The 11th deals with your long-range goals and aspirations. So Mars, there's this major push over those next 6 weeks to really go after your lofty goals. The 11th house also represents friendships, group activities. There's a lot of networking, a lot of socializing. Mars tends to be more ego-oriented, wanting to be more the leader, do its own thing. But the 11th house has a lot to do with groups. So Mars in the 11th, for those 6 weeks, once every 2 years, can really kind of motivate and encourage you working in cooperation with a team effort or getting involved with some group dynamic organization. Now, it doesn't mean if you're doing your own thing that it's weaker, but having Mars in your 11th, there can be much more productive working with a group. Now, the Sun is in Leo in that 9th until the 22nd of August, at which point it goes into Virgo. Virgo is 10 signs past Sagittarius. So those 4 weeks till about September 2020, the 22nd. So now your interest is going to be on your professional status and reputation, your career goals and aspirations as we go to the end of August into September. And there's that Jupiter in the 8th house of joint finance, business contracts, and partnerships. Now, and with the Jupiter in the 8th, that can be very fortuitous for attracting loans and grants or investments from others. Which now takes me back to Uranus, this breakthrough energies in your 7th house, because Uranus is in Gemini. Gemini is opposite Sagittarius. The opposite represents the 7th house of marriage, partnerships, contracts. And so there's this breakthrough energies. You could be suddenly getting a marriage proposal if you're in a business or a marriage that is feeling limiting and confining. You might be wanting freedom of Uranus and breakthrough energies with that Uranus. Now, Pluto last year went into Aquarius, and which is an air sign, harmony with Sag, a fire sign. Now it's going to be there for the next about 20 years. But Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius, Aquarius is 3 signs past Sagittarius. So the 3rd has a lot to do with learning, writing, speaking. So there's that Pluto could be really empowering your voice. This could be really motivating you for more deeper, profound conversations. And it can also really be awakening marketing with that 3rd house. Good if you're in a business that deals with sales, that's the 3rd house. That Pluto can also be really empowering you for these next 2 decades. But Saturn and Neptune are aligning in Aries. It won't be exact until February 2026, starting a new 36-year cycle that overall is going to be very beneficial for most people. Because the Neptune is the dream and the vision, and because there's a lot of positive energy to it, the Saturn can help manifest the vision. And why is it so positive, which I've mentioned in previous videos, is the other 2 outer planets, Pluto and Uranus, they're in air signs. And air is positive with a Saturn and Neptune in fire. So there's this 4-planet, outer planet alignment, all in harmony with one another. the Saturn-Neptune in Aries. Aries is a fire sign, really compatible with Sag, but Aries is 5 signs past Sagittarius. So one definition is all of your aspirations and dreams with 5th house matters are going to seem more possible. Having children, giving birth to creative projects. Saturn-Neptune can just really refining all of your creative interests. It can be very romantic. And then with that Uranus in the 7th house and Jupiter in the 8th, I think many of you could be getting an unexpected, and I'm just talking about Uranus is there for the next 7 years. But I'm talking about over the next year with signs being really given to you in August. And why I say for the next year, not 7 years, is because your ruling planet Jupiter is in exalted Jupiter in your 8th house of joint finances and contracts for just till next June. And so with these outer planets all in harmony with progressive liberating Uranus in your 7th house, you could be receiving a major financial contract, client, partnership. But certainly, you got to start thinking about love and romance, and with that of the 7th, and with Saturn and Neptune, which wants to fulfill our goals and dreams in your 5th house. If you're an artist, maybe your creative dreams are coming true. For many people who are falling in love and getting together, and not necessarily getting married, but that's a real strong possibility for many Sages who are still young. Well, you don't have to be young, but thinking about the future. If you're also thinking about having children, and there's that Saturn and Neptune in the 5th house of children. I want to thank you for watching. If you like information on how to book an astrology reading or check out my 2-question offer, visit my website at gardino.co, that's .co. Until next month, be safe and well.